Hello, everyone. My name is Susan Kudalakis, and I'm Senior Marketing Manager here at Progress. Welcome to our Impact of AI on OpenEdge Development webinar. So let's start by quickly introducing you to your speakers for today. Today, we're joined by our speakers, Raphael Russ, Phil Miller, and Roland DePiper. Raphael is Senior Product Manager at Progress, leveraging his background in software engineering and product ownership to drive innovation within OpenEdge product management. Since joining Progress, Raphael has played a key role in steering the product management of critical components within the OpenEdge platform, including Advanced Business Language, ABL, SQL, and Data Server products. His passion lies in implementing solutions that not only meet customer needs, but also drive valuable business outcomes. As Progress's Senior Product Marketing Manager, Phil leads the go-to-market strategy for cutting-edge solutions that enable enterprises to accelerate innovation through AI and strategic business applications. With over 20 years in the technology market, he specializes in helping customers and partners maximize their investment and progress in our AI-ready data platform, helping them build and power better AI. Roland DePiper is Senior Principal Consultant. Some say he naturally faces magnetic north and that wherever you are in the world, if you turn your radio to 88.4, you can actually hear his thoughts. All we know is that he joined Progress Software in 1995 and has been helping customers make the best use of the latest Progress technologies ever since. And now I'm going to turn it over to Raphael to start the discussion.
All right, thanks for the introduction, Susan, and the opportunity to join the webinar. So for today, I just wanted to provide a little bit of context for the audience and share about our journey and how we got to the point of where we are today. So I joined OpenEdge back in April of 2022, and I quickly learned that OpenEdge was a mature development platform that, of course, had evolved through the years with new features and functionality. And in my first few months on the team, I was encouraged to see that OpenEdge still had an extensive multi-year product roadmap to continue enhancing and evolving the platform. So why do I bring this up? Well, in that same year, in November of 2022, OpenAI released, of course, ChatGPT. And since then, we know that seemingly all industries have been impacted or transformed by the power of artificial intelligence, including, of course, the way software is developed. And we know, just like many of you, that we needed to adapt our product roadmap in order to take advantages of the opportunities that AI has to offer. And so our leadership team cleared the road ahead of us and set us on a course to innovate with AI. And in doing so, they gave us two main objectives. The first was to integrate AI functionality into our products to deliver greater value to our customers. And the second was to offer new products that would accelerate our customers' AI journey while providing expert guidance to achieve your business outcomes. So with these two objectives in mind, we got to work by first identifying use cases where leveraging AI could add significant value to our customers. And secondly, we wanted to try to remove any impediments and uncover challenges that customers were having when they tried to incorporate AI capabilities into the products themselves. And so I wanted to quickly cover what we learned about our customers' use cases and their challenges. During our discovery, we found a common theme emerge, which was centered around using AI to assist developers improve their productivity and quality as well. One case that we heard multiple times was that as a developer, if I'm unfamiliar with a specific section or block of code, it would be helpful if AI could describe for me what the code is supposed to do and also automatically generate documentation if I need it. As you expect, the most common use case that we heard involves AI coding assistance, specifically auto-generating new code or helping to refactor existing code. Along with generating code, customers mentioned that it would be useful for AI to create test cases and test data if needed. Aside from creating test cases, we heard that it would also be helpful if AI could assist with code reviews and provide recommendations if and where my code could be optimized for efficiency. And to round out the need for more developer or development assistance, as a QA engineer, I could use AI to improve the code quality by automatically checking it against security and compliance standards. And then lastly, customers also mentioned that it would be beneficial if they could use AI to create trainings for developers with real compilable code samples for the purpose of onboarding new developers that are new to the APL. So, apart from these use cases, when we started exploring how customers could leverage Gen AI and LLMs to incorporate AI features into their OpenEdge applications, several key challenges quickly became clear to us. First, existing large language models like GPT or Claude have very limited knowledge of ABL. That means they struggle to understand ABL syntax, database structures, or business logic patterns common in OpenEdge applications. So right out of the box, they're not particularly useful for ABL specific development tasks. Second, fine tuning or training a model to understand ABL better would require large, high quality data sets of ABL codes. And unfortunately, Progress doesn't have those data sets readily available in house. And most customer code bases are proprietary. So gathering and curating that data is a major barrier. Third, even if the data challenge was solved, training an LLM is expensive, both in terms of compute resources and infrastructure. The cost can quickly reach into the hundreds of thousands and in even really millions of dollars, depending on the model scale. Fourth, the expertise required to fine tune or train an LLM is scarce and expensive. This isn't something most teams can just quickly pick up easily. It demands specialized AI and ML engineering knowledge that's hard to hire or contract for. And finally, the current OpenEdge IDE Developer Studio doesn't yet support modern Gen AI assistants. So even when teams want to experiment, there's no seamless way to integrate AI capabilities directly into their development workflow. Taking these challenges into consideration, we were still determined to put together a feasible solution where AI could assist developers to improve their productivity and quality and meet our customers' use cases. And so, with that said, I want to turn it over to Roland and Philip so that they can share the details of the OpenEdge AI Assistant solution.
Okay, thank you, Rafael. And on that introduction about the challenges, so we took off with a small team. We call it the OpenEdge AI Tiger team. And on that first topic that you just mentioned about the IDE, what we see is that, well, all the developer world is moving to Visual Studio Code, plugins, forks of VS Code. So we said, well, that's something that we need to embrace. And we did, not by accident. We now have a partnership with Riverside Software. They supply an ABL plugin for VS Code so that you can develop, test, debug even ABL code in Visual Studio Code. So that was one very important prerequisite for us to enable AI within the IDE. The next thing is context. And context in this case is, well, of course, you have your prompt and system prompt and what have you. But for us, that's mainly your code base, your source files. And in context, it's not just the file that you have open at that moment, the .p file or the .cls file or the .w. It's not even just the other files that you have open in your IDE, but basically you want your AI to be able to use your complete code base as context. If you have, well, most of our customers, I mean, you all have large code bases. If you want to use Gen AI to generate code for you, that code should be consistent with what you already have. I mean, it would be awesome if you have a big procedural application and would generate perfectly fine classes, but you're developing in a procedural environment. So you want the code that's being generated to be consistent, to also be procedural and not suddenly switch to class-based development. The same goes for your best practices, for your way of coding. And so that's why the context is really important. And the latest IDEs, they support this. So they get access to your complete code base. They index it and they use it when they're generating code. Another important topic was a layered approach. So you say, well, the bottom part here, ABL, that's our responsibility. So we must help our customers. We must supply the rules and the syntax to support ABL in any AI-assisted IDE. But on top of that, I mean, I think that maybe even 100% of all applications uses some kind of a framework Maybe you have a homegrown framework. Maybe you use one of our framework partners. Maybe it's based on ADM2, any kind of framework. So you should be able to define the ABL syntax and the rules above it, but also to define, okay, the framework enforces or basically forces the AI to generate code according to a certain pattern, like using certain base classes or using persistent procedures with common logic in there, include files that should be used to perform certain tasks, and so on. So, and last but not least, the most top layer here is the customer specific one. Every company has its own coding standards, guidelines, like naming conventions, directory structures, helper classes, all this kind of. So we said, well, we are going to look for any kind of solution that supplies this layered approach. At the moment that we started, that was not yet very common. I think at the moment everybody is playing a copycat in this AI world. So I think that 80-90% of all the IDEs, they support the concept of having rules and having them in a layered approach. So a rule is basically just a markdown file with some text in it. The nice thing about all those LLMs is that they are based on natural language processing. So you can just define the rule as you would if you would have to explain it to your fellow colleague. So you describe those rules, and those rules can refer to text files, HTML files, and in our case, ABL syntax text files, or we will get to that later on, or alternatives. So this has been this has been implemented in several IDEs. The next one is MCP. I'm going to skip that one for now. Remember this because Phil will get back to that one. The next requirement was agentic AI. Now, I think that everybody has his own explanation or his own interpretation of what agentic AI is. To me, this is really my dot on the wall. This is where we want to go. Is you're developing an IDE, you're coding, you're fixing issues, you're creating new code, and there are one or multiple agents in the background, and they work together with you asynchronously, autonomously, and they prefer certain kind of tasks. So maybe you have an agent and that is testing and creating unit tests. Or maybe there's an agent who's then doing code reviews. Or maybe there's an agent who just picks up Jira issues when you add them and you assign them. And so then that agent will just pick up the issue. It will create a new branch, refactor code or solve an issue, and generate a pull request for you to review. Now, we are almost there. Maybe let's put it that way. So we did a lot of experiments together with some of our beta customers. Things are really going in that direction. I don't think we're completely there yet, but in the speed, in the pace that things are going at the moment, I think we will have real agents that can really pick up those kinds of tasks within the next months, half year, in that kind of time frame. So we said, well, whatever we do, we must be open to this future of agentic AI. Another topic, and this is quite specific for the solution that, one of the solutions that we favored, and that's mainly in Windsurf, that's a VS Code fork. They have the concept of workflow, which just means, again, it's just a markdown file. As you can see here, it's just text, just readable. And a workflow is, well, as the name already tells a bit, it's a certain flow of events that you want the AI to execute when you ask for it. In my case here, this example, this is something, of course, I didn't write this myself. I asked the AI to write the workflow for me. This is a workflow to create a new ABL class. Well, of course, most of you probably know all the wizards that we have in Developer Studio. So new class, new procedure, new method, new property, what have you. That is all lacking in VS Code in the ABL plugin. Using workflows, it is very easy to create your own specific workflows. In Developer Studio, you had to do that in Java with the Jet engine. That is all quite complex. Using AI, you can just say, okay, If I want to create a new class, I need to have the name of the class defined, of course, the package wherein it should be generated, which interfaces to implement, and maybe I want to inherit from a certain base class. And then the AI will just take all those steps, use a template, and generate a code for you, just like what a wizard did. So it's the same functional mechanism, but it's a lot easier for any developer to create their own workflows and to implement those kind of wizards. So as I just mentioned, I'm a big fan of Windsurf. Most of our team is. So that's the one that meets all of those requirements. But we are agnostic to any kind of technology because, as you've seen before, we have rules. We have a way to access the syntax. We'll get to that later on. And as all those AI coding assistants, as they're all playing a copycat, they all support those concepts. So during the beta testing and our own testing, we use things like Cursor, KiloCode, MSQ. Well, they're all listed here, and they all work fine. Of course, they all have their own very specific features. I don't think that any of them yet have the concept of workflow. I think that's only with Windsurf. But anyway, what we've seen is that you can get any IDE to work based on our setup. And so, yeah, that makes us agnostic and open to any kind of IDE that is out there. And IDEs to come. I mean, if there is a new IDE launched within the next couple of weeks or next months, and that is really amazing, and everybody is moving to that new IDE, then I'm 100% confident that that it will support our solution. So I said, it's all about rules. It's about extending the basic knowledge of the AI with specific rules. And of course, for us, that means the ABL syntax. And now I'm going to hand it over to Phil because he can much better explain how we interpret those rules using MCP.
Thank you, Roland. Yeah, this is moving very fast, and there are always new tools and new things coming along. This includes MCPs. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and it came out in late 2024. It was introduced by Anthropic, but is now, there are, at the last count, I believe, when I Googled it the other day, there were over 30,000 MCP servers globally, serving massive companies to smaller organizations. And it's a standardization that defines a kind of consistent protocol, a communication method between the AI and an external system. And it allows for kind of a two-way communication, which means once you've got your MCP server, you can request assistance. So these can be using external tools from the third-party source. You can access specialized information, features, or data sources. And then you can perform actions within other applications. And that really means that one, it supports this new world of AI agents and agentic AI, enabling you to create kind of intelligent programs that can autonomously pursue goals that you give it and take actions that can affect the tools within your business. Like I say, it's a seamless tool integration. It provides like a unified and standardized way to connect AI models, doesn't matter what model they are, to the various software tools or platforms that you have in your business. You can build custom integrations for this as well. So you can actually then bring in other third-party services into your products and services like Google Drive or Slack or Teams or whatever it might be. And importantly for our use case is it adds contextual awareness. So it allows the agentic AI to be more context aware of what's going on inside the tool that it is using or trying to utilize, and having contextual information about that tool and the relevant information to it. Now, there's lots of different changes going on, and there's going to be ways that we talk about this. We're trying to standardize the kind of naming conventions that we have. So MCP Server, these are built to expose source systems data to LLMs from multiple different source systems, sometimes vendors, using what's called the Open API spec. So you can think of that as the Progress OpenEdge MCP server for Agentic RAG that we just launched a few weeks ago to go along with our Agentic RAG solution. For today, we're talking about an MCP connector. These are built to provide data and information from one specific source system to those tools, normally facilitating kind of a use case behind it. And that's where the Progress OpenEdge MCP connector for ABL comes in. The way to kind of visualize this at a really high level, we're not going to dive too much into the architecture here, but the way to visualize this is kind of looking at this workflow here. And so you follow anti-clockwise, but we start off in our IDE, the integrated development environment. That's your AI coding assistant, right? And the user makes a query, asks it to perform a task. And that is sent to the ABL connector. And then we have a retrieval message in there. We look for information that's relevant to that task in the syntax, in the language, in the rules that might be in the connector. And then we take that connected data and that retrieved data, and we connect that to the user's query, and then we pass that to the LLM. Now the LLM has the prompt and the query and the retrieved data, so it can execute the task much more efficiently, much more accurately, and within the bounds of what we in OpenEdge say are good practice, but also potentially yourselves, where you've got your own best practice in your own custom MCP server. And then we send that output to that IDE environment, and then you've got your output. And like I say, it's designed to make the developers more effective by giving the context of ABL to a LLM that probably hasn't trained on a lot of information about that. So that's kind of a simplified explanation of MCPs, MCP servers, MCP connectors, right? If you've got questions about these things, please feel free to ask us. But with that, I'll hand you back to Roland.
Thank you, Phil. So indeed, as Phil just mentioned, our MCP server, well, we have two flavors to supply that kind of context to the AI. First of all, indeed, the MCP server. That will be out there as soon as possible. We are working very hard to get it out in a secured and scalable manner. In the meantime, and that's already been published, I think 2 weeks ago, we have a text-based equivalent of the MCP server, because as I just explained, it's all about rules, and those rules refer to ABL syntax. Well, in the MCP server, there's a vector database that contains all that ABL syntax. We can also deploy the same syntax, but then just in TXT files. So on ESD, we already have that first version out. For now, it's only for 12.8, as that is our latest LTS release, but it will be updated for all available LTS releases, so also 12.2, and in the future, OpenEdge 13 when it is being released. So you can download it, you can just deploy those text files to your own local machine or to your network on a share somewhere, and then have that used, have that being referenced from a rule in your AI coding assistant. And I will show that part also in a demo. So let's go over to the first demo in there. I did record this, so I will talk you through it. So first of all, what we have here is we have a rule file. And as you can see, the rule file, it's plain text. So this one just says, well, when you have to write OpenEdge ABL, progress code, procedural code, object-oriented code, use the OpenEdge MCP server, and in fact, use one of those collections in there. So if I open up the MCP config.json, and of course I've removed a bearer token and so on, what you can see in here is that it's just an HTTP protocol. The first one is referring to SIG, so that's a partner of us in which we use their MCP server to validate code quality, APL code quality. The second one in here, that's our OpenEdge MCP server. And so this means that if the AI has to, doesn't know all of the syntax, then it reaches out to the MCP server that's being configured here. In the case of text files, the ABL syntax MD file will have a lot more text in there because we created functional groups. So that file says, well, if you need to know something about transactions, then this is a text file that contains all the ABL syntax about transactions. So the next file in here, and I just wanted to create a kind of an example so that the AI is able to solve me a bug. I have a car class that's an interface, and that just describes one property for a car. There's another interface in here, and that's the F1 car. And the F1 car is a little bit more extensive, so that has more properties defined. And I have a McLaren class, and the McLaren class implements both interfaces because a McLaren is a car that you can buy. Well, I cannot buy it, but there are people who have enough money to buy it. And it's also a Formula One car, so it also implements the F1 car interface, setting those properties in there. The next one here in line is Red Bull Racing. As you may know, Red Bull Racing is a Formula One car, but it's not a real car, it's an energy drink. So it doesn't implement that interface. What I did, I've created a test procedure, get Francorchamps results.p. This is a test procedure that uses an object called Francorchamps that has a collection of cars. And my test procedure that's been generated that just adds one of those, two of them to that list. And it gives me a compile error on the second one. So if I hover over it, you will see that it just says, well, parameter 2 for that method is not type compatible. Of course, I can dive into it and try to fix this myself, but I'm just going to ask the AI, check it and fix this issue for me. So it does exactly that. So it starts off reading the current files that they have. And that's what I said, that's all about context. So of course it has to analyze this .p file, but then it has to go a bit further. It has to say, okay, I can see that it's using a Francorchamps object. So let me also read that file and see what it is really doing. Now the next file then is okay, then it sees that, well, we are using two different classes here, the McLaren and the Red Bull. So those need to be analyzed, but also the underlying interfaces that are being supported. And then suddenly it says, oh, well, that all makes sense. Your Red Bull Racing car class is not implementing the car interface. So I need to supply it. I need to come up with a technical solution for it. So let me change that class. So I can just accept those changes because I'm still in control. I can recompile my source code. As you can see now, it's all fine. And indeed, in the Red Bull Racing class, it has added that interface, and it even supplied an initial value for it. It says, well, it's a Red Bull Racing. If this is functionally correct, that's a different question. I mean, this is about fixing a technical issue, and it does that correctly. So let's go to the next example. And I want to show you really why and how it reaches out to the MCP server. So what I did in here is I will ask the AI to create me a configuration class based on an XML file that's already supplied. And I want the AI to generate that configuration class that will load the XML file in a temp table, and then later on generate a method get configuration that will return me the type of a class based on the input parameter. And I also want this to be static. So let's give this as input, as you can see in the right bottom corner, to the AI. This is the XML file that I've supplied. So some funny names that should be translated to the real classes that should be implemented by the configuration class. So as you can see here, the AI says, okay, I'm going to reach out to the MCP tool because based on what I already have here and the knowledge that I have, I don't know how to use an XML file in ABL. So now what it finds is, based on that question, it gets the information from our MCP server how to parse XML files. So it will generate, it will create a couple of steps because it takes a stepped approach. I'm using Claude Sonnet 4 here. That's really good in making plans before it starts generating code. So it does that step by step. And of course, it needs to generate that configuration. And it will let me know what it's doing, how it's doing it, why it's doing it, like making sure that it will clean up all the objects that are being created. So this is what I came up with. And indeed, it is parsing the XML code. And in the end, there's a get configuration method in there. And that's all correct. I mean, that will get me the temp table information and so on. So that's good. I'm happy with that part, but I'm not really happy with that parsing. So let's tell the AI, no, don't use that parsing, use a read XML method instead. So the AI will say, well, okay, I'll try to do it, but again, I don't know how to use it. So I'm going to reach out to the MCP server again, and now I'm going to ask specifically, how can I read XML files using the read XML method? It gets the answer. It also figures out, oh, that's by accident. Well, the XML file looks exactly the same as my temp table. So that should make it a lot easier. So it's now refactoring the configuration class. And as you can see, it has a lot less lines of code because now it uses the read XML method of the correct type. I can just accept the changes. And I'm pretty happy because it generated everything that I wanted to be in there. Yeah, so this ends my demo. I hope this clarified what AI can do for you and how you can use our extension to it using our MCP server, or for the same matter, using the text files because the results would be the same. So now I'm going to hand it back over to Susan, and let's see if we can answer some of your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roland. We have a ton of questions, but I wanted to ask Phil and Raphael and Roland to flip on your cameras so everyone can see you. Hello, guys. While we're getting some questions, and I will tell you they're coming fast, but I wanted to ask a question for everybody. I think that Raphael and I were just discussing this. Are there, and this is for the audience, AI-related capabilities that you would like to see integrated into OpenEdge? If you can just use the chat, that would be great to answer that. But I'm going to jump in and ask a question while people are typing the answers to that, if that works for you guys. The biggest challenge that I have experienced is ensuring code accuracy, achieving the level of precision required for generating functional, error-free code. It went on and said a few more things, but what is Progress intending to do to mitigate or at least reduce this concern?
Yeah, maybe I can take that one, Susan.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, indeed, that's a big challenge, and of course we've also seen that. That's the main reason why we introduced our solution using an MCP server, because things cannot generate correct code if it doesn't know the right syntax. So that's one thing. The second thing, of course, is prompting. If you sometimes when you just ask a question, it generates code, and you look at the code and think, yeah, well, that's not correct. That's not what I meant. And then if you look back at your prompt, then you'll find that, yeah, well, I did not ask for that specifically. Like now in the last demo here, I didn't tell it to use a read XML. I just asked it to read in XML file. So that are a couple of things that we can help our customers to learn and to use it correctly. Another thing is, in the background, we are working on training our own LLM. So we do want to extend an LLM so that it knows APL and ABL coding practices. And I think that will also be a big help because we have our own syntax, we have our own way of working, our own, well, that's what we want to learn on LLM, so then we don't need to go out to the MCP server. Maybe we will still have a kind of a RAG solution for knowledge base entries, and so that the AI can decide, okay, oh, you have an error in there, it's not starting the app server, so maybe I can find a solution using a RAG solution based on our knowledge base entries. But yeah, that are maybe Phil with anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can provide enough tools for you to start increasing the accuracy of your AI coding assistants today, actually. So we've got some of these things available, ready to download. The other part of the effort that we've been doing is engaging with the OpenEdge community, our partners in the OpenEdge community, and working with them, building their MCP servers. And so what we found is by taking a layered approach, a kind of agentic workflow of kind of different tools to use throughout the coding process, that we can increase the accuracy even further than that. And that includes things like code checking and reviewing of that code to make sure it meets a certain standard or applies a certain framework that you want to code with. So I think it's good to look at this not just in terms of the lens of like what we're doing here in Progress, but actually your whole AI workflow and where can we help you in that space. And that goes to the question that we asked at the start of this. What would you like to see from us? Not just with AI coding, but with AI in general with OpenEdge, because we're really engaged at the moment with a number of different projects, and we want to make sure that we're going in the right direction and supporting you in the way you want to leverage AI and get value from that with your OpenEdge data. Raphael, anything to add?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, to that point too, we've gotten questions not only related to the application development side of things, but also related to monitoring the database and how can I leverage AI capabilities in order to, again, monitor the database and fine tune my database, right? And so these are some of the things that we're exploring now. So if you have feedback, if you have requirements, if you have any use cases specifically as it relates to the database side of things, we would love to get your feedback as it relates to those things.
Yeah.
Right, let me jump in and ask another question then. Is there an agentic AI framework / development toolkit recommended for OpenEdge?
So at the moment, we've put together, Roland and the team have put together a services offering to accelerate the deployment of these AI coding assistants and the MCP server in our customers, because we know that this is really new for a lot of people. There's, we have a bleeding edge of innovators within OpenEdge that are really kind of pushing the envelope with this, and it's really interesting to see and hear from them. But there are also people who are catching up with this, who are trying to leverage it safely and securely and at scale within their business. And so that's why we've put together that service offering. I think as we learn more about how people are using this, we will come up with frameworks and use cases. And I think Roland volunteered himself for a prompting guide at the beginning of this thing as well. So I'll have to tap him on the shoulder for that as well. But we will test and iterate and learn the more that we can engage with our customers using these tools. And then we'll try and bring those lessons back to the community.
Yeah, and we think that this is like the next evolution, right? Aside from refactoring existing code or modernizing your code, aside from generating net new code for enhancements and new functionality, we think that embedding agentic AI into your business workflow is the next evolution of this, right? To allow things, right, processes to run autonomously based on a specific criteria that you feed the AI agent. So As you know, Phil mentioned, you know, we're actively working with partners, and in order for us to put in place a solution that makes sense to our customers and stuff. So again, we'd love to hear feedback as it relates to agentic AI and specifically AI agents. So.
So here's a question for you, and I think we have a slide to share. So if we can pull that slide up, can you recommend hands-on tutorials with building an IDE AI agent rules for ABL development and code reviews? So I wanted to put this up because there were some questions related to this on general information.
Yeah, no worries. So you're going to see 3 QR codes hopefully across your screen now. One is the general information. So if you want to go through, you want to register for more info from us about when the full MCP server goes into general access, use that first QR code, right? It'll have more information on there. The second link, that's for the documentation. And very deliberately, when we started this out, we wanted to capture the step-by-step process of how to create these things in your business, because it's not complicated, but there is some nuance to it. So we wanted to make sure that people were able to get started using these tools rapidly. So in that documentation, you're going to find not just the links to where to download ESD files, which are available now, so you can start testing yourself, but also how-to guides, right? And how to deploy this. And then we've that third link, which I'm just going to touch on briefly because we mentioned it earlier on. We've also got another MCP server. So we've got 2 MCP servers, right? This one allows you to connect your OpenEdge data to an agentic RAG system so that you can ask questions of that data, get summarizations of that data, and really connect your OpenEdge structured information to the unstructured information in your business. There's a 14-day free trial there. If you go to progress.com/agentic RAG, you'll also find more information there. We are going to share all of these links, probably more with you following the session, but I thought it's a good chance for you to get involved today with this.
Okay, this is one question, do we need additional configuration to use Windsurf, or can we just plug in and start using it in VS Code?
You can. There are a couple of prerequisites in Windsurf because it's just like within VS Code. So what you can use is the Riverside plugin, which is available. And that needs a couple of configuration steps. It's different than Developer Studio. So it is all configured using files. So there's an OpenEdge project.json file in which you can set your pro path, your R code directory, your database connections. And that's most of it. I mean, it's a simple setup. There's just a couple of steps. And then you can develop, you can compile, you can run your code, and you can even debug within VS Code or Windsurf, which is pretty much the same, you know, because it's a fork.
One thing I wanted to...
Yeah, Phil just mentioned that we already have a services offering out so that we can also help you to set it up for your specific environment with your code base and your connections and whatever.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention is as we were building this solution out, the outcome is the most important thing in the consideration. So it's what's the outcome for the business? Where am I going to realize the investment that I'm making in both OpenEdge and AI, and together, how can I leverage that and maximize that investment? And so there are tasks in here where Roland might show you a video or do a demo and it takes 3 minutes, right? Or 5 minutes. But that task itself will be an hour and a half. And that might be a task that a developer has to do every single week. And so what we're really trying to do is ramp up the efficiency of your developers so that they can concentrate on delivering innovation and change within your business rather than kind of BAU, right? Rather than, oh, I've got to worry about an upgrade or I've got to worry about transitioning to this. this tool is designed to help you on that upgrade path, as well as then allowing you to leverage your developers to build innovative solutions on top of your OpenEdge technology. And that's one thing that we tried to keep in mind throughout the whole process is, how does this help our developers?
Yeah. And the feedback that we also got during our testing phase from our customers, they say, well, you know, one thing to realize, it's no magic. You know, it's not that suddenly you will become 10 times more productive. I think on average for a developer, if you win back 10 minutes every hour, that would already be quite a nice step forward. But there are also situations, and we got that feedback from one of the testers who said, well, we got a customer issue, a customer reported an error that they got. So we just fed the screen results, just the error message, we fed it into Windsurf, and asked, well, what could be the cause of this? And it exactly pinpointed to the root cause of that issue. And the developer said, well, it would have taken me, well, of course I would have found that issue myself, but it would have taken me at least an hour. And now it just took me 3 minutes, you know. So yeah, it varies, of course, but it will also try to help you and to support you and make you more productive.
Yeah. And I think as well, I think the biggest validation for this was actually from one of the people on the team who came in a bit of a skeptic, who came in a bit, wow, you know, this AI coding thing might work, okay. And then he said to me, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, he said, Phil, please don't take this away from me. It's too valuable a tool now. So and we've had that feedback from our partners and the customers that are using this now as a part of their workflow. They see it as fundamental now to being productive and to solving business challenges a lot quicker with this. So.
Right, I'm going to jump into the next question because there are so many questions. I don't think we're going to get to everybody today, unfortunately. So if we miss you, we will follow up with you after. I do see a lot of capability related things that we're going to be sharing with the team after, but I've seen a couple questions about versions and which OpenEdge versions are supported. So maybe you can give a little clarity on that one.
Yeah, so currently the supported versions of OpenEdge are 12.2 and 12.8. We're exploring the possibility of potentially, supporting other versions, but right now, as it currently stands, 12.2 and 12.8 are the current versions that are supported.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
So
it's changing. So, you know, please do reach out to us if you've got a specific use case or if you've got a valuable kind of thing you need to get done and you want to use AI with that, then please do reach out and we can see what we can do for you on an individual basis.
here's a good question about the MCP server. Is it something that Progress is selling as a service or cloud, or will there be an option to implement it on-prem?
That's a good question. So
It was a good question. Yes.
So for now, it's and it will be released very shortly to the general public. It's a cloud offering. Maybe Raphael can word it much better than I can because basically it's for OpenEdge customers. So I think everybody with a valid license agreement, a maintenance license at the moment. Is that the correct wording, Raph?
Well, yeah, everyone with an active maintenance renewal would be able to access this. So
yeah.
And so there's, and Roland, you could talk about the delivery mechanisms, but essentially there's two right now, and
yeah, indeed, there are two right now. So there will always be customers who say, well, we are not allowed to go out to the internet for this kind of stuff. So we are already supplying the same support, but then using text files that you can download from ESD. And then you can deploy those locally on a machine or a network drive. There's also the rule file that points to those different parts of the ABL syntax. And you can just change that to point to the directories where the text files are stored. So you can have it fully locally, or you can use in the MCP server when it is being released, which is a cloud deployment. We are thinking about, okay, maybe we could deploy it also as a Docker container so that customers can download it and run it locally. but that's still an open question. That's something that we're still considering.
Yeah, and to add on to that, MCP Server, as Roland mentioned, we're working to release it soon. We don't have a specific time frame in mind right now, but soon. I'll just leave it at that. And the ABL syntax and documentation and rules that Roland mentioned, those are available already from the ESD site. So just wanted to add that.
Great, so let's keep going. We have a few minutes left. Are there hard barriers for AI to pull data from the OpenEdge database? Will it be difficult or impossible?
Well, Phil already mentioned there's a third MCP server that we're working on, and that will expose parser we capabilities using the MCP server. So can AI use the OpenEdge database? Technically, I think there are all kinds of capabilities, like using ODBC or whatever. But I think the way to do it is that's what MCP was invented for. It's to open up digital capabilities for the AI so that it can access your GitHub repository, that it can send an email, or that it can use parser capabilities. I don't think that you would like to have AI directly connecting to your database and getting data out of making updates or whatever. So that's a trusted layer in between that you're responsible for. So that's the MCP server, and that uses the parser. So that always goes through your business logic layer, as I think it should.
Yeah. And you know, those MCP servers, the reason that they're built like that is so that they're interoperable in a workflow of other tools, right? So we know no man's an island, especially in this new AI world. There's lots of different tools that people are using, and those tools change as well. So, and the models change. And so we've deliberately taken this approach so that you can pivot to the latest model or to the latest IDE or to the latest AI tool in there, right? And that's because it's changing so fast at the moment that we want to give you that agility.
All right, so I'm looking at the time and we have about 3 minutes left in our presentation today and way more questions than we'll get to. So why don't I ask this for our speakers today? Are there any parting thoughts or anything that you want to leave with the audience before we wrap up? And I will capture everybody's questions and share that with the team. And we'll probably have to get back to you after the event.
I'll go first. Like I sound like a broken record, I know, but we want feedback. We want to work with our customer base. We want to collaborate with you guys. We want to learn your use cases. We want to learn what you've tried already, where you succeeded, where you failed, and why. So that we can take that and just build the capabilities that you need for your business needs. So I'll just leave it at that. I know I've feedback for us is like gold, right? So that's my only take on things.
Yeah, and from my perspective, because I'll let Roland have the last word. From my perspective, I think the people that do engage with us, right, the ones that reach out and say, "I'm really excited about this. I want to get involved." We want you to become a part of this evolution of the technology, revolution of the technology in some aspects. And so please do get in contact with us, get in contact with your account manager, reach out to us directly. We want to hear from you. We want you to be involved in the alpha, the beta, and the test release and the development of these solutions. If you've got an idea, then you can also post it in our community forum. And we also have a Discord server, which we will share with all of the registrants and attendees today. That's a way to engage with us on a one-on-one. We're all on there, so you can talk to us directly. You can share what you see in the AI world, and I do quite regularly, in terms of what's going on outside this whole kind of ecosystem, and maybe some lessons that we can take from that. And you can put forward your ideas and engage with us. So that's another way of kind of sharing your insights and what you want from OpenEdge in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Yeah. So indeed, we've been our cool boys. We're also on Discord. So, but maybe my famous last words. Just start using it. if you use it day in, day out, it will get better. It will understand you better. You will better learn how to use it. It will become more efficient. You will be more productive. And really, trust me, if you're using this for some time, you don't want to get rid of it anymore. You don't want to lose it anymore, because it's just somebody who is sitting next to you and is always trying to help you and take away the more repetitive work from you. So, yeah, that's it for me.
All right, great. So thank you everyone for joining us, and for Raphael, Roland, and Phil, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. And from all of us at Progress to all of you, we hope you have a great day, and we will be following up with all the links as promised. So we hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you all.